How are you? This is my little boy Jack's bedroom. I've snuck up here because the family's downstairs watching TV and they prefer I not talk to myself while they're watching Scooby-Doo. Did you notice my shirt today? You got a good eye on that? It's Uncle Sam, and speaking on behalf of me, he's saying, I earned it, you can't have it. Remember that, Mr. Obama. Today's commentary is not directed towards the president, however. It's directed towards these folks who, over the last several days, have been telling us how great things were back at Woodstock. It is, as you know, the 40th anniversary of that orgy in the mud. And it seems like the folks in charge of the evening news are intent on convincing you and me that it was some grand milestone in the development of human civilization. Well, I was alive back then, but just barely. I did not go to Woodstock, and I'm glad. And all of you all who are rolling around in the mud of your happy memory, talking about the age of Aquarius and all this other stuff, let me just say, get over it. It was a concert. It was a long time ago. The notion that it was the beginning of some new social order is, of course, preposterous. The people at Woodstock, 3 years later, re-elected Richard Milhouse Nixon, for crying out loud. Some 11, 12 years later, they happily voted for Ronald Reagan. I'm glad they did. But this notion that the young people of that day had some sort of celestial enlightenment that made them fundamentally better than their predecessors is a bunch of crap. The people of the Woodstock generation were the children of those who endured the Depression and fought World War II. They were sort of the left wing of the baby boom. Now, yes, like every rising generation, they had the arrogance of the young, which made them presume that their parents were morons who didn't know anything. But the fact is, every generation feels that way, and every generation is wrong. I guarantee you that the Woodstock folks, 20 years later, or 30, when their kids are at that same age, telling them about how they've sold out and all this other stuff, the Woodstock parents, now a little bald and a little gray, are looking at their new generation of hippies and saying, you folks don't know what you're talking about. My point is this. America's greatness lies ahead of us. It doesn't lie behind us in some muddy field in upstate New York. Essentially what happened was they listened to a lot of music and they had a lot of sex, right? Woodstock, this grand new dawning of the age of Aquarius, was actually a wonderful example of marketing by the Columbia Record Company. It's interesting that all the big names that came out of Woodstock were people who happened at the time to be recording on Columbia. I don't have any problem with that, but please don't tell me about your utopian dream when you were being marketed 3 ways from Sunday. Bottom line is this, we don't want to hear about it. Nobody wants to hear about anybody else's glory days. And what bothers the rest of us most of all is that these folks being quoted on the evening news about this grand and holy anniversary of Woodstock continue to cling to the arrogance of their youth from that bygone age. No, you weren't any better than any 20-year-olds who've ever walked the earth. You had no greater insights, no sense of peace or love or harmony or let's share our food back and forth. You were just young people out for a good time. And that's great. And I'm glad you had a good time. But please don't make the rest of us believe that that concert defines your generation or changed America. Because if we're telling the truth, it did neither.